Hello guys, thanks for joining me. In today's video I'm going to do a review of the 2006 Toyota Rav4. It is the 2.2 diesel engine with the D4D engine. Now first of all, just off the bat, I'm not trying to sell my car at all. I'm just doing this video really because I've got a bit of spare time this evening and I absolutely love cars. Down there. Right. I love cars. I've always been like a real petrol head, and just like really a hobby of mine, interest of mine, passion. When I passed my test in the year 2000, I couldn't afford to buy a car, with university expenses and all of these kind of things. So I've got my first car when I was, I think 2004, 2005, and ever since I've been working, I've had kind of like numerous cars just out of interest. So I've had quite a bit of experience. I must have had close to about 30 cars, which I've owned and driven. So I've got to kind of know the different brands. So this video is about the Toyota Rav4. So if you're thinking of thinking of buying one, I'll kind of give you kind of a brief overview of what it's like to run, and some of the features which it has, and what it's like day to day living with it. Okay, so let me actually show you guys. So turn the camera there. Right, okay, so mine actually came with the with this screen. So it's got like a sat nav, SD card function, CD and stuff, but I believe this is aftermarket. This isn't actually factory. I think you can get it as a factory fit, but I think they were on the later models. So let's have a look at this car. First of all, the instrument cluster. Well, I don't know if you can see. Yeah, the instrument cluster is very well laid out. You've got the temperature gauge there. You've got the fuel there, speedometer and the rev counter. On the left hand side here you've got the indicator, and then turning the stalk you've got the lights. On this side here you've got the window wipers, and you've got the vents here, speaker there, the temperature dials. So this is the temperature, so to make it cold you obviously select here, and then it kind of go up there from hot to cold. AC, just press the button there kind of demists at the back. Just select the temperature speed, so from 1 being not that doesn't blow that much, to 4 being kind of the most powerful. And then the functions here, recirculate, blow, it goes down towards the passenger, and this kind of heats the screen. So that's kind of the basic functions, pretty straightforward to use. One thing is, which you will notice when you come into this car, it's got this button here. Now this is primarily a two-wheel drive car, so the power comes from the front two wheels, and when the kind of car feels that kind of the conditions, like for example are starting to slip, or in like maybe like snowy conditions, the power is kind of distributed to the rear wheels so that it kind of gains more traction. So if you want to press this in kind of difficult conditions like snow or maybe gravel, or if you go into these sort of terrains, when you press this button, what it does is it distributes equally 50% of the power to the front and 50% of the power to the rear of the wheels, so making it effectively four-wheel drive. It doesn't have a diff lock. It's not a fully blown full out 4x4, so you're not going to get kind of be able to go up into like mountains, like something like a Land Cruiser, which would be able to. But I think for day-to-day situations it really kind of does the job, and it has all the features really, I think, of a car, with a slightly added capability of a 4x4. So let's talk about the finish. Finish is actually very good quality. It's of a high standard. I mean, the plastic is is of a good standard. It's got dual glove box here, so this one here, you just press the button once to open, press to close there. Second glove box there, and we've got plenty of cubbies. So cubbies on the side there, so cubbies in the middle, cubbies on the side there, and it's got another section where if you open it you can put some more stuff there. So let me turn the camera around. Okay, so there you go. So what do I like about this car? Well, I made some notes here. Right, so the diesel engine is pretty torquey to drive. Mine is a manual, so the gears, the gears function quite well, quite easy to use. It is kind of torquey, so that's one of the first things I noticed when I drove it. Is that it's got quite a bit of a punch to it. I mean, it's not really really powerful, but it is kind of quite nippy. And you know, if you've never driven a diesel before, you know, I think you'd quite like this engine. I've had, you know, as I mentioned before, I've had quite a few cars. I've had a couple of 4x4s. I had a Mercedes ML, what was it, ML 270. Mine was the AMG spec. That was a nice car, but again, the running costs were quite high. So, you know, and it was kind of quite boaty to drive like a typical 4x4. It did have, those do have kind of good 4x4 capability. The other 4x4 which I had was a P-Reg Toyota Land Cruiser. Mine was I think the 4.2 straight 6 petrol, but I had mine gas converted. Again, they are very good cars, very capable, but very thirsty. So I think they are really the ultimate four-wheel drive 4x4s. And if you look in any kind of Toyota forum, you know, those are kind of highly regarded, but they are kind of getting on a bit in age. So if you are looking for one of them, you know, make sure you look for one which has really been enthusiast owned, and it's been looked after. Otherwise you can get into a potential headache and money pit if you're not careful there. So back to this car. Handles kind of really well. I think it handles like a car. It's more kind of car-like as opposed to 4x4. If you are kind of looking to buy, you know, something like this, or maybe a 4x4, one thing you have to kind of be aware of is that you have to change your driving. You have to slow down a bit, and you can't treat it like a car because of this center of gravity is not the same as a car. When you're driving around corners, you have to slow down in advance and you know, take it easy a bit. Otherwise, you know, you've got increased risk of toppling over. So you know, please be careful in that respect. For me, I do a lot of motorway commutes, so I'm getting quite good miles per gallon. A full tank, well, fuel is actually quite cheap now, and obviously I'm working from home, so I'm not really doing the motorway runs. But you can expect anywhere from about 350 to about 400 plus, depending on the traffic. If you've got kind of clear run, obviously you're going to get better miles per gallon. What else is there? It's a decent size. I find it's not like massive like a Land Cruiser, so you know, it's not too small, it's not too big. So I think this is a good sized car. I mean, it should kind of be sufficient for all your needs. What else do I put there? The boot is a good sized boot. I'll show you in a minute. The boot is a good size. One of the good things with this car as well, the rear seats move back and forward, so if you need kind of more boot room, you can move the seats forward, and if you need, you know, less room, you can move them back, giving the rear passengers more space. So that's a really good function there. How I would describe this car is, if you have ever had Toyota Corollas, I would say this is a slightly kind of upmarket 4x4 version of a Toyota Corolla. I mean, I'm not knocking those Corollas, they are kind of cracking cars. I've had probably about 6 or 7 in my time. But this is kind of a good balance between car-like handling, and it gives you the ability, you know, the four-wheel drive ability, which I think most people will need, unless you're kind of going overlanding, or you know, you want to do some serious kind of off-roading, maybe green laning. Then I wouldn't really recommend kind of it. I've never actually taken it off-roading before, so I can't really comment in that respect. But I think for the general, you know, person, it would be sufficient for their needs. Right, okay guys, so I'm going to show you around the car. So let's turn this around. Okay, so I'm going to show you the engine bay. So just bear with me whilst I open. Right, okay, so this is the engine bay. So mine is the D4D engine. Now the great thing with these engines is that these are chain driven, so there's no headache of having to worry about the cam belt being changed. So that's a good thing there. So this is the engine bay. If you want to add some more oil, what you have to do is remove this cover to get to the engine oil cap, so then you can remove it and then add the oil. Battery there, coolant expansion tank, and this is where you add the screen wash. What I like about these kind of cars is they're at the age where you've got the kind of classic dipstick, where if you want to check your oil levels, you know, you can do it manually. I know some cars have a kind of a system where it's electronic, where it comes up on the dash telling you to check your oil. I think that's a really bad function. For example, I went to a Range Rover dealership a few months back just to kind of have a look at the I think it's the new Vogue, and I was quite shocked. I looked at the engine bay, no dipstick, and I know they say that it's supposed to be kind of quite reliable, but you know, I think good old-fashioned mechanics, a bit of kind of mechanical element is kind of good, so that you know your way around a car. Right, so this is a basic engine bay, and I suppose if you're looking for kind of to buy one of these things, one of the things, you know, basic, I mean, I've just come from a bit of a drive, so obviously my oil level is going to be different, but basically what you need to do is make sure that the oil is, you know, is to the correct level there, not too low. Check the engine oil cap, make sure that the engine oil is black. If it's like a mayonnaise colour, run away, you know, and this is for all cars as well, because it's kind of sign that the head gasket is on its way out. Coolant there, it's got full, so you can check it there. So I'll just go to the back. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see there, yeah, so low and full, very easy to top up. You just unscrew that when it's cold, of course, and then top it up there. So that's your engine bay, kind of quite simple. I think for a mechanic there's quite a lot of space to work around there as well, so quite easily well laid out. Okay, so this is a driving position, so the seat here, the driver's seat. The seats are actually very comfortable. They've got good kind of support on the side bolsters, manually operated. I think the higher spec cars have electric seats, which is a nice feature to have. Passenger side has the same things there. The electric the side bolsters here, and the seats are good, kind of really firm. They've got, I think, a good balance between comfort and firmness. Okay, I'll show you the back. Oh yeah, so this is the back seat. I'm about 5'11", so if I get in, just turn around here. I'm 5'11", and let's move this here. Sorry, I'm 5'11", and I can sit very comfortably in the back. I've got enough space. The height is good. My head is not touching the side, the top. I'm quite stocky as well. You know, I normally, obviously with this virus, I'm unable to train, but I go to, you know, the gym and do weight training, so I'm quite stocky, and I'm actually very comfortable here. I've got enough space. There's an armrest here. Pull this armrest down. It's got two cup holders there. So quite a nice place to be if you were on a journey. And of course, you can adjust the height of the headrest there. Okay, so I'll take you to the back now so you can have a look at the boot. So with these boots, they open sideways like this. Right, so I've got, obviously mine's full of stuff, but it's quite a big boot. It's got the kind of load cover there. So if you need to get access there, you can remove that cover here. So these come off. The rear seats also go down, which is a good feature if you need more space. Get a shot from the back so you can see from the side. Spare wheel at the back, which is a nice feature to have. A lot of them nowadays don't come with a full-size spare. They come with a can. Good ground clearance, so if you are kind of going into kind of rougher terrain where there's snow, this is really what's going to help you, having a higher ground clearance there. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching. From all the cars which I've had, I can narrow it down to Toyota being the most reliable and being the cheapest to run. If you're thinking of buying one of these RAV4s, I could recommend highly one of these ones. Now do some research if you're thinking of getting an a newer model, because some of them have a DPF filter, so I'm not sure if that has more kind of maintenance costs and maintenance implications. So have a look into that. What I like about not having a DPF filter, less headache, less things to go wrong. I like kind of simple mechanical engineering in that respect. So just something which I wanted to do today in this evening. Got some spare time. If you've got any questions, please put them in the chat box below. Please like, share and subscribe. Thank you for your time, and until next time, take care. Bye bye.